When the guns of World War II finally fell silent, the world believed it had won peace. But what most people didn't realize was that a new war had already begun, not fought with tanks or bombers, but with currency, credit, and contracts. The battleground was no longer Europe's fields, it was the global economy. The war had left Europe in ruins, cities flattened, treasuries empty, currencies worthless. Britain, once the empire where the sun never set, now owed billions. France was broke, Germany was rubble. And into this chaos stepped a single nation, rich, untouched, powerful, the United States. America had not just won the war, it had inherited the world's balance sheet. In July 1944, as battles still raged in Europe, representatives from 44 nations gathered in a remote hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Officially, they were there to design a fair post-war economy. In truth, they were building an empire, one made not of colonies, but of currency. The man who dominated the room was not a general, but a banker, John Maynard Keynes, the British economist, and his American counterpart, Harry Dexter White. Keynes wanted a world currency, something neutral, a global bancor. White had a different plan: make the US dollar the backbone of world finance. And behind him, the American gold reserves, 2/3 of the world's total, waited like silent cannons. The decision was made. Every currency would be linked to the dollar, and the dollar in turn would be linked to gold, $35 per ounce. It was elegant, it was logical, and it gave America control over the world's money supply. The age of gold had ended. The age of the dollar had begun. Empires used to demand tribute in silver and soldiers. The new empire demanded something subtler: trade in dollars. Oil, steel, wheat, everything priced in the same currency. If you wanted to buy, you needed dollars, and to get them, you needed to deal with America. For 2 decades, the system seemed perfect. The dollar was strong, gold reserves stable, and global trade flourished. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. America was spending more than it earned on wars, weapons, and promises. The rest of the world held dollars, trusting that they could always be turned into gold. But there was one problem: there wasn't enough gold. The Vietnam War changed everything. America printed dollars by the billions to pay for a war it could not win. Foreign nations began demanding gold in exchange. France even sent a battleship to New York to collect its share. The dollar was collapsing under its own weight. In August 1971, President Richard Nixon went on television and announced that the U.S. would temporarily suspend the convertibility of dollars into gold. That temporary measure became permanent. The dollar was now backed by nothing, and yet paradoxically stronger than ever. Because by then, the world had no alternative. To secure the dollar's dominance, the U.S. struck a secret deal with Saudi Arabia. All oil sales would be priced in dollars. In return, America would guarantee protection. Every nation on earth now needed dollars to buy oil, and America could print them at will. This was the moment the dollar stopped being money and became power itself. Over the next decades, This invisible empire grew. The IMF and World Bank, both born from Bretton Woods, became tools of soft control. Nations borrowed dollars, then surrendered sovereignty when they couldn't pay. Debt became the new battlefield, and Washington held the keys to the Treasury gates. Economists called it stability, but it was stability built on debt, consumption, and the illusion of infinite growth. Each crisis, 1987, 1997, 2008, was met with the same answer: print more money. The dollar was no longer a currency, it was a narcotic, and the world was addicted. But every empire breeds its rival. In the East, China began to rise, building, trading, lending. Its new Silk Road was paved not with soldiers, but with infrastructure and credit. The question now whispered in every financial capital: could the yuan ever dethrone the dollar? The story that began with gold in 1914, with war bonds and propaganda posters, has become a digital empire of credit and control. Money is no longer metal or even paper, it's code. But the rules remain the same. Whoever controls the currency controls the world. Every empire tells itself it will last forever. The British said it, the Romans said it, now the Americans say it too. But history has a cruel rhythm. When money becomes illusion and illusion becomes faith, collapse is inevitable. The question is not if, but when.